Welcome everybody. In today's video, we're going to talk about CDS hooks. I love CDS hooks. They are a great technology if you're building an EHR connected app. They are also great if you're building a headless EHR and want apps to be connected to it. They are also perfect if you are building AI apps, including the DSI app scenarios for the B11 rule. You don't have to take my word for CDS hooks, just watch till the end of the video and decide for yourself. I'll be showing you how you can use CDS hooks to build dynamic patient dashboards that combine the power of multiple CDS hooks in a headless EHR. Then I'll show you how you can use the same kind of dashboards and use it with any EHR, even if that EHR doesn't support CDS hooks. We'll be using Epic as an example. Epic does support CDS hooks, but we'll show you how it can be better. I did want to talk about a couple of things before I jump into the demo. First is, you might be wondering if CDS hooks is that good, why is it not that much in use today? It is definitely in use today, and it is getting to what is known as maturity level 5. What that really means in simple terms is that you can expect a lot more usage of CDS hooks in the coming days, months, and year. The proof of that is already here. The recently released proposal for HTI-2 mentions CDS hooks 75 times. So you can expect that to be the front and center of a lot of discussion in the coming days. Secondly, I also wanted to clarify that I will not be going into the details of how CDS hooks work. I will focus more on the real world scenarios and how you can use them with headless EHRs and with any EHRs. If you are interested in learning more about the inner workings of CDS hooks, my good friend Siddharth from MedBlogs did an amazing video on it. We'll put the link to that in the description below. With that, let's jump into the demo. Okay, so we're going to first build some dynamic dashboards in a headless EHR scenario using a MeldRx workspace, and then we'll show you how you can use the same kind of dashboards with any EHR. So I'm in the MeldRx app and I'm on the patients list. We only have one patient here, and I'm going to go ahead and launch the patient chart for that particular patient. What you're seeing here is a very bare bone basic patient chart, and that is by design because we're going to build the new dashboards with it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my app and I'm going to go to this tab called EHR apps, and I'm going to start searching for some other apps. So I'm going to just click search, and I see the first app there, which is actually an EHR launch app. That's the one we will start with. So I'm going to add it, and I'm going to then come back and refresh my patient chart. What you will see is that there is now a button there which gives me the option to launch that app. This is what is called as an EHR launch scenario, which is supported by most EHRs today. So from my patient chart, I can just click on that button and it will take me to that particular app where the patient data is already selected. This is a very simple app scenario that we have built where it helps you add tasks to your particular patient chart. There is nothing kind of complicated in here. It's very simple, just recommending some tasks as an example. So I'm going to go back to my patient chart, and the downside of this scenario of using EHR launch apps is that it can very quickly get overwhelming. How many buttons can I have actually on the EHR? And then how many of those buttons do I know when there is a right point to click it? Like, which app should I be clicking it? I mean, for which patient? That's kind of where CDS hooks start to become a lot better than the EHR launch scenarios. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into the chart, and I'm going to add another app that is similar to the task app, but it is a CDS hook version of that app. So now if I come back to my chart and refresh it, you will see that it has made a different tab appear in my chart, which has what is called as a CDS hook card. So this is the core functionality of CDS hook, where instead of you having to go to the app every time, it builds like a portal into that app and builds the most required functionality right into the patient chart. In this case, it is basically telling me that I think that you need to add that daily BP monitoring task to this particular patient chart. Now, I can still just click on this and go to the app just like I was doing before. So I have not lost that functionality if I want to review that. But what I can also do is, without leaving the patient chart, I can just click this button and it will go ahead and add and complete that task. It not just does that, it actually refreshes the patient chart. And now that it realizes there are no alerts, it removes it. But if I go back to that other app and refresh it, you will see that it has actually added a task. Behind the scenes, it's actually added this task as a FHIR resource. And now this task is available in that patient chart. So that is a very simple scenario how CDS hooks can be built right into the clinician workflow to help them complete critical tasks. Let me just show you some other examples that we have added as example CDS hooks apps. So I'm going to add this demo card services. This is not actually real services, but it helps you see kind of the different options that are available with CDS hooks. So now what you're looking at is the different kinds of cards that can be serviced by different CDS hooks apps. In the first case here, I'm looking at that it has actually reviewed the whole patient medication record, and this particular service found that there are some drug interactions alerts, and it has shared that with me. So I have the option again to launch a reconciliation screen or change the drugs. There are different ways I can manage it. In this case, it is actually looking through my problems and conditions, and it is telling me that this particular patient is eligible for a clinical trial. I can actually go look into the trial. This also shows me how there are different options in the CDS cards where I can even show some images. In this particular case, what it is looking for here is that it is actually detected that there is a drug in my medication list for which there is a generic option available. We are actually using a service from the CDS hooks sandbox, which actually does that. In that use case scenario, they show how you can do that in real time when the clinician is prescribing the medication, but it can also be done to just review through the patient's list and show that there is a generic option available. The user can again change it right from there, or they can even override it to basically give them a reason. CDS hooks provides a very comprehensive feedback APIs where you can act on the different cards that are provided to you as well as capture the results on it on the other side. So these are some examples of how we have built some sample CDS hooks apps and made them available within this particular patient chart. This is not limited to the CDS hooks apps that we are building. I'll show you an example how we can easily bring an external CDS hooks into the application too. I'm going to go to the CDS hooks sandbox website. This is the sandbox where you can actually go and test different CDS hooks apps. And they have a very basic app in here where when a patient is selected, it shows the patient name. The idea here is to show that how CDS hooks is actually capturing the data from the FHIR server and then displaying that particular patient back. I can actually go and just copy this particular CDS hook service from here. And I'm going to take it back to our configuration. And what I'm going to do in here is I'm going to change my context here as a developer that is publishing this particular CDS hooks app. We covered a lot of this scenario in our last video around B11, that how developers can come and publish apps to make it available to clinicians. So I'm not going to go into too many details, but I'm just going to show you quickly how I can add a new app and then make it available to the clinician. So I'm just going to click on register app and I'm going to go ahead and fill up these columns quickly. Okay, so that app is registered. One more step that I need to do is I need to make sure that I can go ahead and publish that app. So I'm going to go back to my apps and I'm going to say I want to publish this particular app. And for that, I need to enter some more details. Now, as we looked in the previous video, we could actually update the DSI attributes for this too. In this case, I'm going to say this is not a DSI app. So that's all I need. And I'm going to set the publish status to enabled and save it. So now this particular app is available to any of the EHR users. So I'm going to go back to my EHR, go back to my workspace in there, and I'm going to search for this new app that I just added, and I'm going to add that particular app to my patient chart. And if I now go and refresh my patient chart again, you will see that this is a card that is now being pulled in from that particular CDS hook service and has been brought into the patient chart right into the MeldaRx dashboard. Okay, so we showed you how you can build pretty powerful dynamic dashboards using CDS hooks that can complement a headless EHR. But what if you already have an EHR and your EHR doesn't support CDS hooks? Can you still get functionality like this? The answer is yes, and we are going to show you how we are doing that. The basic idea behind this is that even if the EHR doesn't support CDS hooks, they do support EHR launch. That is part of the requirement of the G10, and all EHRs support that in one way or the other. So I'm going to show you an example how we are using EHR launch to make dashboards like this available to any EHR, taking an example with Epic. Okay, so I am on the Epic Fire site, and we will be using their official tool to launch the EHR launch app. I can do that from here. And the scenario here is that this is a simulator to simulate the behavior that a clinician would have when they are in a patient chart in Epic and want to launch an app. In our case, we will be actually launching the dashboard that we are going to build. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my MailDirect, and I'm going to change my context to a Epic workspace. So this is basically a linked workspace that is connected with Epic. If you are not familiar with our linked workspace concept, we have done multiple demos on that, how we can actually connect to different EHRs and make that data available from within MailDirect. What I'm going to do from here is I'm just going to copy this particular EHR launch URL, and then I'm going to go back to the Epic site, and I'm going to paste that URL in there. It actually remembers from last time I was testing it. And I'm going to click on the button to say generate URL. And I'm going to copy this URL to my clipboard because I want to test it in a different browser. So I'm going to go ahead and then copy that URL in a browser. And what you will see is that it will actually launch the similar dashboard that we saw there to start with. But this time, this particular data is actually coming from Epic. So I'm seeing the documents and the conditions of that particular patient that is being pulled in from Epic. I can now go back to my configuration in here, and I have a similar button called EHR apps for the linked workspace. So I'm going to go ahead and add all the other apps that we had used from there, the CDS hooks app, to my dashboard. So I can just do that from here, and then I'm going to come back and refresh my patient chart. And what you will see now is that I'm getting the exact same dashboard that I was seeing in my headless EHR built on MailDirect, but this time all of this data can be pulled in from Epic. And as I had shared, some of these cards are just mock cards, they're not pulling real data, but you can actually see that this particular service is going to Epic and pulling the patient data out of it, and it's displaying that name. And this particular task is actually reading through the conditions and tasks using a linked workspace and recommending that task. If I actually click on it, this is actually went back and wrote that task into the linked workspace, which is connected with Epic. And that's why that particular task disappears from here. But then I have the ability to go and look at it into the way I want to basically configure with those other apps. So hopefully that convinces you the power of CDS hooks and how you can use that to build pretty dynamic dashboards, whether with an existing EHR or if you are working on a headless EHR scenarios. In my next video, I will be doing a deep dive on how you can combine CDS hooks with CQL or clinical quality language, where we'll show you how you can take any clinical quality language file and convert it into a CDS hooks to be available to your existing EHR or with a standalone EHR. Please subscribe to our channel if you want to be informed as soon as that is released. Thanks again for watching. Cheers.